away
Oh,
from me.
boy. What a mess. What an absolute mess.
I think the listeners have solved it. Listen, I think you and I texted back and forth. I sent you the headline. Went, uh-oh.
Yep.
But I think
and I said something back to you that we can't air.
Yes, you did.
I cannot share it with you.
Listeners have brought wisdom, and it's kind of what I was trying to navigate overnight. It doesn't have to be binary. You just saw my Twitter poll. Elon Musk is A, a courageous truth teller, or B, a disloyal troublemaker. And 99% said courageous truth teller, but that doesn't mean that those people think Trump is a bum and the bill is terrible. I think there's a way for this to work, but let me hand you the talking stick and see what your thoughts are.
It also doesn't mean Elon is right. He can be a courageous truth teller and be wrong. This is not a politician.
Wrong
about what he's doing. And I've been thinking a lot about this overnight, been thinking a lot about it this morning. In fact, there was some reporting that was just repeated from Axios. Mark Caputo was sharing, remember the screaming match that Scott Bessent and Elon got into outside the Oval Office?
Supposedly, I don't know if I believe it.
Well, it was not denied by the White House. In fact, Caroline Leavitt was asked about it, and she didn't deny it. So it did happen. And evidently, one of the things Scott Bessent said to Elon is, you're a fraud. You promised $2 trillion in cuts. Then it was $1 trillion. Then it turned into $500 billion. Now it's $150. You're a fraud. And then, of course, Elon got into his face and said, you're a failed hedge fund manager. And it was very personal. And I've known bosses like Trump who like that kind of tension. They think it brings out the best in warring sides. But here's what I think we have to consider about Elon. First of all, hope everybody's paying attention as you're rallying around Elon at Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and all of the Democrats are lining up. Oh, Elon is right. Oh, he's right. So guess what? Democrats are voting in your poll that Elon is a brave, courageous truth teller too now. Because you know why? Because they don't want the bill because they're terrified of border security. Right. They're terrified of all the things in it. They're terrified of codifying and making permanent the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. So I want to push back gently with love to you and all your listeners. As Elon went through all these late night dissing texts and tweets, and he keeps dissing Trump and these new posts. President Trump, incidentally, oddly quiet about it right now.
Which is a signal.
It's telling.
I want you to continue your premise, but Trump, first of all, I don't think Trump is, one of the big things last night was, what's the running clock on before Trump says, I never knew him, I don't know who this guy is. And I don't think that's going to happen. And nor do I think it's a psyop, nor do I think that we're being played here. I just think there's a way for Elon's purity of perception, and I think where you're going to go is he just doesn't understand the governmental system and is not ultimately being helpful. But I think there's a way for all this to work out. Let me let you continue your.
Well, there better be a way for it to work out, because I'm going to go to what we need to go to. What's the end game? You and I think, rightfully ask often about issues like, for example, the war with Ukraine and Russia. What's the end game? We keep writing blank checks to Vladimir Zelensky. What's the end game? You think Ukraine's going to beat Russia? You think we're going to get into a war with Russia? So what is the end game? And we ask that a lot, and I think it helps add clarity to the debate. Well, let's do the end game on this. If the bill fails, what do you think is going to happen, Mark? If it's not good enough for the Elons and the Thomas Masseys and the Ron Johnsons of the world, what are we left with? Let me tell you what we're left with: shattering the Trump agenda, obliterating the Trump mandate. And you're right, if it does come down to Elon versus Trump, I'm with Trump every day of the week. Let's talk about a business person like Elon. He's brilliant. He has turned so much around. But he sees things from the eyes of somebody who has not been president for 4.5 years. He doesn't know really how the sausage is made. We got a guy with steel you-know-whats in the Oval Office who's trying to make chicken salad from a bowl of chicken you-know-what. Here's my, with love, admonition this morning. Stay in your lane, Elon. Back off and let President Trump try to navigate this. Now, I'm open to one thing, and I wonder what I want to get off my soapbox here and ask you about this theory.
Your soapbox. It is a good
Yeah, but
soapbox.
I wonder if Donald Trump isn't in on this with Elon Musk.
Which is exactly where a lot of people are going, and
Yep.
why if it's binary, if we got to pick going all in with Elon or all in with Trump, I think it's possible for Elon to be right about this and yet still say, hey, you ain't president, Trump is. There's more good than bad in the bill, and the bill needs to pass, and the failure of the bill might lead to our failure in the midterm. So you've got to look at the big picture. And for our buddy Elon, there's an old saying, I don't know who coined this, let everything you say be truth, but not all truths need to be spoken all the time.
That's
so
right.
if indeed Elon is fiscally correct and right, when you were talking 60 seconds ago about how he comes in with a kind of a neophyte perception of how his clear eye, his fresh eyes have been of enormous value in finding government waste. Doge is great. It needs to continue. Let's get to that $2 trillion that he talked about. But it also means you're kind of a babe in the woods as far as how things actually happen. And you know who it reminds me of? A very different character, Ross Perot, who said, I'm going to put up the hood. Let's take a look. Let's go. Let's, I'm doing Dana Carvey doing Ross Perot now. And God bless Ross Perot, but government's not a business. It never will be. There's principles of business. Don't spend money you don't have, blah, blah, blah. But government is not. You can't snap a finger, write a memo, gather the team, and change things overnight.
Look, Elon is very frustrated. That's very obvious. It's clear he's frustrated. Now, we all are, but I think he's got a whole different level of frustration. It was reported that Tesla sales were down 45% in the month of May. Now, I hate that for him, but he's got his hands full. He leaves the White House, and he has absolutely damaged himself in a massive way. And shame on the loony left. Business-wise, his brand. I mean, if it's true, if 45% mark, that's not nothing. That's that, and he's got to get back to work. So he knows that, and he's got to fix that. He's got a fiduciary responsibility to turn his companies back, and I think they're going to come back. But he's just frustrated, and we get all of that. I get that. I admire him, and I respect him, but I think he's got to back off and stay in his lane because, again, you said something a moment ago that really stuck with me. You think there'll be more good than bad in this bill?
Well, there definitely is more. There's totally more.
Well, all right. Well, let's look at that. Let's do a deep dive on that. If the more good, the absolute secure border, the tax cuts made permanent, if that still comes with a heavy deficit price. How do you determine what's more good than bad? Because what Thomas Massey is saying and what Elon Musk is saying is, to hell with the border security. There's too much spending.
Cuts. Exactly.
Forget the tax cuts. We've got too much spending. And so this is the problem we have. And this is what we got to be careful here not to get, swept away by the dreamy, rantings of Elon Musk here. He might be saying, forget it. Let the bill crash and burn it all down, end the Trump agenda because they didn't give us enough. That's a mistake, Mark. That's a big mistake.
And it's a product of the business versus government mindset.
That's right.
That Walter Isaacson biography of Elon, I recommend it because everything Elon does, I can find like page 275. There's something in there. He welcomes business failure. He learns from every business failure. Let some rocket design absolutely blow up on the pad. Fine, back to square one. Let's see what we do. That ain't how government works. Government is very incremental. You can't really have a big for us to have this rocket blow up on the pad. We can't turn it around fast enough and make everything hunky-dory by the midterms.
Right.
We're going to be gauged very slavishly, very minutely by millions of people whether Trump is able to deliver. What's the measure of every politician? Can you deliver on what you promised? And from full border wall funding to tax cuts to any one of a number of other things that are in the big, beautiful bill, if this thing fails, there's going to be hell to pay.
Well, it's going to ruin, it's going to destroy everything that we elected. I mean, the whole thing goes up in flames. And I'm afraid that there are folks like Elon and maybe Thomas Massey who don't mind that. And that's a problem. I have a big problem with that. So we have to accept the fact. I mean, if somebody just texted from Dallas, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
We're not things in the world. Yep.
We're just not going to get everything we want here. And that it annoys me that there's an expectation that we will. All right, Rand Paul,
yeah,
what's your plan? What's your plan? What's your bill? What does your bill do? How does it make it? You know, Elon, you're so right about talking about navigating a company like Elon did. That is far different than being the president of a country where you've got hundreds of members of Congress. You've got tons of senators who all have their various interests. They're all fighting for their district and their pork. This is complicated. With Elon Musk, it really isn't complicated. He runs SpaceX. What I say goes.
Write a memo, gather the team. It happens overnight. Boom.
We get it fixed. It doesn't work that way in government, and so we all have to be clear-eyed about that. Here's my big question. Are Teslas fun again now? Are Teslas safe?
Well, in the lost, is the 45%, because I always said when everybody was setting fire to Teslas and firebombing dealerships, it's like, what a dude, if you see somebody driving a Tesla, chances are greater than 50% that it's a lib. It's an electric car.
Well, now they love Tesla. Now they love Elon because he's taken on Trump.
Right. So now in the lost sales. So where did the divot come from in the lost sales? Is it libs who are looking for Rivians now, or other electric vehicles? I don't know.
Well, wait a minute. I just had an idea. I just thought of something. Yeah. Elon Musk is a brilliant businessman. Mm-hmm. Could he be looking at that 45% sales slump and say, you know what? I take on President Trump, and I complain about the bill. Here come my sales back. I get that bottom line returned.
Hope not, boy. That would be disillusioning.
Wouldn't that be awful?
It would. And you know what? I don't want to think that of him. I know what I think of the Democrats, from Chuck Schumer to Hakeem Jeffries, these clowns, both of them saying, circle this day on the calendar. I agree with Elon. The big, beautiful bill is terrible. You dummies. They're just savaging Trump and savaging the bill. Elon's problem with the bill is that it's not conservative enough.
I know, but I wouldn't rule out this guy's got to go back to work. Trump's going to have to govern, and he's got to go back and fix Tesla. And I just dawned on me, maybe that's part of this. Because seriously, what is a lefty who hates Tesla? Now, because of Elon, what do they say now about Tesla? Oh, good for Elon. Way to go. I'll go buy a Tesla. Maybe AOC goes back and gets her. Maybe that actress that had the Tesla shipped away will now have it reshipped back to her.
Well, were there Sheryl Crow, the singer.
Sheryl Crow, that's right. That's who it was. It was Sheryl Crow. Yeah, maybe Sheryl Crow now.
Also stupid because Elon already has her money. She already bought the car.
There are a bunch of theater kids.
Silly me.
Performative art, performance art.
I think a few weeks from now, we'll look at this and say it all worked out okay, and maybe the bill got better.
From your lips to God's ears,
and
then pray
that Trump will not suffer this wound to his agenda, and we're going to be okay, and we will not view Elon as having been some horrible trouble.
Won't it be fascinating to hear what Trump's first words are about this? Because he hadn't said a word.
Nope.
And look, he goes out. He's probably going to give an interview today to the Weather Channel. Yes. So he'll be asked. They'll ask him. Yeah. Home and Garden TV, HGTV. Yeah. The Home Shopping Network is going to interview him today, and he's going to tell us what he thinks of Elon. So buckle up. The ride begins. All right. Happy Wednesday. Love you.
Happy Wednesday. Always happy. We love Mike, and he's ready to roll as soon as we're done. 10 o'clock right here on 660 AM. The Answer.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.